Hello Stampers, this is Sheila Myers and welcome to my blog. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator and I'm here today. I thought we would do something simple. As most of you that follow my blog know, I like to use lots of different stamp sets and colors and everything, but today we're going to call it Making It Simple Monday. And we're going to go ahead and use, this was a limited time special that we had on Dashing Along. I'm going to go ahead, usually I don't use items that we don't aren't available anymore, but I figured some of you may have gotten this cardstock, and actually you could use any kind of DSP on this, but I'm going to use the Dashing Along, and I'm going to use this particular green. Now I've not made this card, so this is kind of a card made on the fly, so let's go ahead and go through what I have in my mind that we're going to be doing. We're going to use the Garden Green cardstock, and it's cut at 5.5 by 8.5, scored at 4 1/4. And then we have two pieces of Whisper White, one for the inside greeting and one for the outside. I'll only do an outside greeting today, and I like to use my cards blank so that I can put whatever greeting at the time I'm getting ready to send it to whoever it's going to go to. So anyway, these are 4 by 5 1/4. And then our next color, the Cherry Cobbler. I've got two pieces. One of them is cut at 4.5 by 3 1/4. And then the other piece is cut at 3 1/4 by 1 3/4. This one is cut, should be cut at, should go 1, that's right, 1.5 by 3 inches, and it's going to border on top of this piece like so. And then our DSP, we're going to, this one was cut at 3 inches by 3 1/4, and it's going to go right on top here. Okay, so, and I'm only using one stamp set. It's called Warm Hearted. We're going to use the Merry Christmas from that and our Stamparatus over here to do our greeting. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started, and I'll explain the bow. Many of y'all have done, I think it was called a fork bow. I actually use this hair lift, and I get them at Sally's, I believe, the Sally Beauty Supply, and it's kind of one of my favorite. It has 12 prongs, so you can do any size as long as you have equal increments, and you can do either a triple, a double, a single, whatever kind of bow you're going to do. Now I've already gone ahead and made one ahead just for the purpose of the card, and what I will do is show you quickly on how I do them. But I lay it across the top of my pick. I'm going to call this a pick, and then I bring it over and around, and then I come to my 6th spot, which is this one right here, and then I come back around to this one, and then back around to this one, and then I can't, oops, sorry, come back around to this one, there we go, because we're making this a two, so this will be one of them. This will be the other. So when you bring this through the bottom here, and you're again bringing it, I'm just having a hard time here. It's much simpler than it looks. I'm making it a lot harder. But let's go ahead and do it again so we get this right for you. Especially if you're doing it, you want to do it correctly. So we'll bring this back around, and then hold this down, bring this through, bring this one over, and when you tighten it, I like to bring them down to this portion here, and then you just turn this over and give it a good tie. And I always like to tie them twice just to make sure they don't come undone once I bring them out. And then I just slide it off. And then you get your double bow, and you can cut it down however you want to. Spread out your little bow pieces here and puff them up depending on which kind of ribbon you're using for them. So it's a real fun ribbon, and you can make them the little tails a little bit longer. And so if I was making a card, I might make these longer and then strap one down this way and one across this way at an angle and make it at the front of a card. So anyway, that kind of gives you some ideas. So let's go ahead and put our card together, and let's start with our base here. We're just going to real quickly put on our center mat, and because I am going to be redoing it, I like to use the removable adhesive in the inside. This at least puts my card there, and it's available to me when I get ready, but I can take it off and stamp it, and that way, if I do make a mistake on the greeting, I have another side I can flip it over to. So on the front one, we'll just go ahead and use some of our adhesive and seal it onto the top. And on the ribbon that we use today, this is that reversible ribbon that's in our holiday catalog. I just absolutely love this, and I hope they come up with some more colors. But I'll have a list of all the supplies and measurements on my blog, so be sure and check that out. So then what we want to do is bring our next layer, which is our cherry cobbler. And I want to find a little center area for it to lay into. That looks good. Okay, let's go ahead and put our DSP down. And you could use either side of the DSP, would look just as pretty. There's something about those stripes that I just really like at Christmas time. Okay, so let's set this aside for a second so we can stamp our greeting, and then we can adhere that. So let's bring our Stamparatus. Now, if you haven't gotten this, and you'll notice too, I've put a little tacky piece of that removable adhesive back there. When I have a small piece like this, I prefer using it on the Stamparatus than I do the magnets, just because I'm using a large stamp here that's going to go right there. So if you haven't used a Stamparatus before and you place your paper down, then you come up on it and line it up how you want that stamp to line up, and then you just lay your plate over the top of it and lift it, and it's ready to go. So we're going to use some Memento Black on it. So let's ink up our piece over here. So let's go down here. So I guess a lot of you are starting to get ready for the holidays and all your Christmas card making, because here we are. This is the week of Thanksgiving, so we usually try and get our Christmas cards off. So as you can see, we got a perfect print there, so we'll just go ahead and stop there. We don't have to redo it. And let's bring this over and layer it on. But if you're needing any supplies for your Christmas cards and would like to follow my link, it'll go straight to my store, and you can get any of the supplies that we're using today. You'd have to change, of course, your designer paper because that was limited time. But we have some beautiful Christmas paper that's still there. And just then, if you noticed, unfortunately, I used my fingers there when it was still wet, and it smeared it a little bit, but that's okay. We'll just go ahead and put it on here. Again, we're calling this Making It Simple Monday, and that's what we want to do. It took very little supplies to do this card. We're keeping it simple, so we want to layer it there. I'm going to use some mini glue dots and place our ribbon on. So I want to put a couple on the back here, if they'll quit sticking to me. There we go. And I'm probably going to go ahead and put some down here because I want these to lay flat. Well, this is a sign it's time for me to order some more of my glue dots. I go through quite a few of them, and we'll just stretch that on out there and let it touch down. Okay, let's go ahead and get this one. We want make sure we have it the right place there. You know, I have to excuse my sniffling. I came back from a fantastic time at our on-stage in Florida, and I got back on Sunday. Monday morning, I woke up with a horrible respiratory infection and have been fighting it all week. So hopefully I'm just about over it and on the way to healing. So let's go ahead and put our bow right here. And there we go. What easier card could you make than that? And with just a few supplies. So anyway, thank you for joining me today, and I hope you have a great week, and stay tuned for later this week for some more card making techniques and tips. Until next time, happy stamping.